Iraq's 25 budget still in the works, with the government expected to send the budget tables to the council representatives in early February. The rate needs to change before that, guys. That's why I've been telling you you're in red-hot January. January is a critical month to our investment. You're going to see the new exchange rate before you see the budget. I understand the need for diplomacy, but Iraq needs to step back from Iran politically. Al-Sudani needs to be careful. Trump is going to come down hard on Iran, and I hope Iraq doesn't get in the way. I understand your view. We report what is in reality, and happening during a global event too. Like it or not, Iraq and Iran are linked. My bet is Iran is capitulating for a very big reason. The news is the news. We watch what happens and report it. No fear for the regime in Iraq as long as America and the religious authority are satisfied. The government is heading towards independence. Iraq must gain their independence not just on paper but in practical terms. Now that the Chapter 7 sanctions are released for over 2 years already, it is time. The next stage is full sovereignty promised to the Iraqi people during the second invasion in 2003. Yes, they still are not a free country until they get back their currency, which means to control their own wealth. Also, I want to mention, the CBI reserves are in the bank in New York, JP Morgan/Chase DFI fund amounting to over $120 billion. And so Iraq will also have to recover these funds too. The UN already decreed these funds should be returned to Iraq. We are watching this closely. The auctions have metamorphosed, they have evolved, they have progressed to what is now called international foreign currency transfers, and it's being done by private banks. You think the currency auctions that once existed that Iran was taking advantage of are still active? You're wrong. You're ignorant. Transfers, no longer auctions. This is not taking a currency and converting it into any other currency. This is moving a currency in and out of the country they could never do before. Don't you understand the value of that? Don't you understand how important that is for the monetary reform? Ain't got nothing to do with the CBI. It has to do with the private banks exchanging between each other and across the borders. Question, just thinking out loud here, is it possible to get the RIA on SAT and get paid on the 21st? Marks, it is absolutely possible. Similar to how Kuwait did theirs. In a nutshell, Kuwait got a RIA, real effective exchange rate, and within 10 days we started exchanging. January is a very critical month for the rate change. Shabibi back in January 19, 2012 did a 4-point rate change from 1170 to 1166. If you have dinar and you would like the contract rate, which is substantial and moving up, ask them for it politely. If you have dinar, I don't care if you got 2 or 3 notes, or you got 20 or 50 million dinar, there are no limits. There's some people out there that talk about the fact that the dollar auctions haven't changed. That's wrong. You should already know this by now. It's called the new reinforcement mechanism. Articles specifically tell you the dollar auctions are no longer at all. Everybody that is going to get a dollar from anywhere in Iraq is going to come from this new mechanism, and that's a fact. Question, if Iraq is increasing her foreign reserves through correspondent banks, isn't that international trade? Marks, yes, and that is why some are getting excited. Question, in reading these articles, I find they contradict each other. I remember a few months ago that only 13 banks were not in compliance with CBI standards. Today, I read 32 banks have limited functions. Is this difference between gov banks and private banks, or am I still in the weeds trying to understand foreign banking? Some of the recent articles are opinion articles. In the third quarter of 2024, the Central Bank of Iraq reported steady growth in both bank deposits and cash credit across state and private banks. Article: Iraq's bank deposits reached $97.32 billion in 2024's third quarter. These figures highlight a positive trend in Iraq's banking sector, with increased confidence in both savings and lending activities across the country. The last time Trump was in office, we became the #1 exporter of energy, which affected oil prices and affected Iraq. With Trump coming into office, we're going to quickly see what kind of impact he has on Iraq and the oil market. All we can do is sit back and watch. If Iraq thinks it's going to go in the same direction as it did last time and the value of oil per barrel goes down, which could hurt them big time. An economic expert revealed the government's plan to restructure its two banks, Rafidain and Rashid. Salah Nouri told Al Furat news agency, the reasons for restructuring Rafidain and Rashid banks are the presence of bad financial assets, most of which are loans granted that were impossible to obtain before 2003, which led to a decline in the credit rating by international financial institutions and the refusal to deal with them. He explained that in order to restore international confidence in the two banks, it is necessary to restructure the two banks by excluding bad financial assets from the financial center of the two banks and using modern technology and establishing two parallel banks, one for Rafidain and the other for Rashid, to which the bad financial assets will be transferred. He explained, after separating Rafidain Bank into a bank that owns sound financial assets and another parallel Rafidain Bank that owns bad financial assets, as well as Rashid Bank into Rashid Bank that owns sound financial assets and Rashid Bank that owns bad financial assets, Rafidain and Rashid Banks, which own sound financial assets, will be merged into one bank, as well as merging Rafidain Bank with bad financial assets with Rashid Bank with bad financial assets into one bank. Nouri said that the new bank after the merger with sound financial assets will practice cash and contractual credit activities and dealings with international financial institutions, but the new bank after the merger with sound financial assets needs capital support with not small amounts, and this must be determined by the party that supports the capital, according to the government decision. He noted that among the financial activities of the new bank is the use of artificial intelligence in addition to bank employees with high technical skills. He continued that the process of restructuring the two banks financially and organizationally since 2011 with the membership of the Federal Board of Financial Supervision, the Central Bank of Iraq, the international auditing firm the Ministry of Finance and the two banks concerned, has stopped. And currently the process of restructuring the financial and organizational structure has been resumed by assigning the international auditing firm according to the methodology referred to above. Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani chaired a special meeting yesterday, Thursday, to discuss the development of the work of government banks, in the presence of representatives of Ernst & Young for auditing and financial consulting. The Prime Minister explained that the completion rate of the project to restructure Rafidain Bank has reached its final stages, stressing that it will enter into force in the coming few days, within the framework of a plan that has been studied and implemented